the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. Today I am sitting down with Jackie. Jackie is from New York, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. How are you doing today, Jackie?
I'm good. How are you, Brian?
Oh, I'm doing okay. So, Jackie, take us through your journey of being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. How did that go about? Like, what kind of symptoms you were having, and what led up to your diagnosis?
Well, actually, I had symptoms back in 2002, 2003 when I was in high school. I was a gymnast, and I was a captain of the gymnastics team for my school and stuff for 2 years, but I would get like this burning in my leg, and I'm like, wow, this is really weird,
Mm-hmm.
And for like a couple months, and like, this is really weird. Like, it's very uncomfortable to take showers because it felt like daggers, like the water, like hurting my legs and stuff. I'm like, this is just so weird. I went to a bunch of doctors, and they're like, oh, well, you're a gymnast. It's probably just pinched nerve. So I would just keep going on with life, and then it finally be good. And I'm like, oh, good, it's gone,
Yeah.
Nope. Because then, probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, then my other legs started doing the same thing. Like, this is so weird. Like, I could still do stuff. I could still do my gymnastics. I could still walk and jump and everything. Mm-hmm. My legs just felt weird. It was like pins and needles and burning and whatever. So that was my first symptoms, and that was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had other symptoms afterwards,
Yeah.
but I didn't really keep track of what they were because it was just like, oh, I think I'm just going crazy, and I don't know what's going on with me, but whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got married in 2010, and I moved to Virginia with my husband. There, and Virginia's hot. And I was having all these symptoms and stuff. I could barely walk. I was struggling a lot. And I saw a chiropractor, and she was helping a little bit, because it felt good and that helped with the symptoms, I guess. I didn't know what I had, though. I just was like, oh, well, it makes my back feel good, so I'm just going to keep going. So I went to my chiropractor, and he's like, Jackie, this is way above what I do. This is something bigger. I don't know what it is. I think he had an idea of what it was, but I didn't. He's like, but he took me in his car and left his practice that day and took me in his car, got me an MRI, and my brain just lit up. There were so many lesions in my brain because it was so many years of being undiagnosed.
Yeah.
That the doctor, he kind of came in and he was like, so you got MS? And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Just like that. Like, I was relieved.
Yeah.
Now, my husband, on the other hand, he was not. He was like, what? Oh, my God, this is so terrible. I'm like, why? I have a diagnosis. I know what's wrong with me, and I know what I can do to, help it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get into the therapies and,
Yeah. Yeah.
I started with Rebif.
Yeah, you finally got an answer. So, I mean, that makes you, that makes you know that you're not going crazy. I know that I was in the same boat when I got diagnosed. I'm like, thank God. Okay, finally I got the diagnosis.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
It was about 10 years that I had no idea what was going on with me. I thought I was just nuts.
Yeah.
I thought I went crazy. I don't know. I couldn't explain a lot of the stuff that was happening to me.
Yeah.
You know, and so to finally look back on it, once he said, "Oh, you have MS," I was like, "Oh, okay." So that time when I could not open my hand, that was MS.
Yeah.
I was a waitress at the time, and I could not open my hand. I would I would pry it open,
mm-hmm.
and then it'd snap right back. I'm like, what is going on? This is so weird.
Yeah.
And of course, my employer, they're like, oh, we're going to have to start docking your pay because you're dropping all these plates and stuff. I'm like, well, it's not my fault. They didn't, obviously, thank God. But
yeah,
I mean, it was just one time, the side of my face went numb, and I thought that I had Bell's palsy.
Yeah.
But there was no drooping or anything. It was just numb.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It was probably that. Then it was probably MS.
Yeah.
And probably one more of my lesions,
Yeah. So did they get you on a DMT right away? When they finally did diagnose you with MS?
Yeah, when I got diagnosed, they started me on Rebif. Okay. And I was doing that, giving myself shots 3 times a week, I think it was. And then from that, I was on Copaxon, and I was doing pretty good. And it wasn't until I moved back to Buffalo, and I was pregnant with my son at the time, and he's 11 now. And I moved back here, and I was having so many relapses.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have the baby Hulk because I had to keep going into my practice and, getting steroid infusions.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor kid is going to be like the baby Hulk.
Yeah. Jeez, oh man.
But I mean, he was good. So that was okay. He was diagnosed with cerebral palsy though.
Oh,
I don't know if it was a result of that.
Yeah.
But I do know that my doctors at the time, they said, oh, well, maybe you should try having a vaginal birth instead of a C-section because then it'd be harder on you to recover and stuff, and so maybe it'd be better.
Yeah.
So I went into my OB's office, and I told him that and stuff, and so he was trying to get it to have me deliver vaginally. However, after 31 hours, the baby was not coming out. And at the very end, he had his chin raised up, I guess, and so they had to do an emergency C-section. And that was the result of the cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I've heard, obviously I'm a male, so I can't understand that, but I have heard so many stories of how childbirth just messes with multiple sclerosis with females.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and so, and on that note, they usually say with the females, oh, getting pregnant, that's the best 9 months of your life. You'll be in remission of all your symptoms, and that was not the case for me at all.
No.
I had so many symptoms. I had so many relapses, and all that time, I had a baby that I was trying to, protect and stuff in my stomach, and, it was pretty hard. Yeah.
Wow. So you were on Copaxon at the time, and you're not still on Copaxon? So what happened after that DMT?
Oh, okay. So then, after I gave birth, and I wasn't really on anything, I think I went back on Copaxon for a month or something like that. But I was, I was having relapses and stuff still. And, my doctor was like, you need to get on something stronger. Like your MS is like very, very, very active, and we need to get you on something.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Tysabri had just come out, and she's like, I really want you to get on Tysabri. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because that had the implications of you could get PML and you could die. And I'm like, I am a brand new mother. I do not want to die. I just had, I want to be around for my baby. And I don't know, maybe I think it was like after that month that I was on Copaxon unsuccessfully. It was actually the nurse practitioner came to me and she's like, Jackie, you need to get on this. You need to get on Tysabri right now. We monitor you, and I had the JC virus, so that's why I was kind of iffy about it. But she's like, but it's very low, and we monitor you, and you get blood work like every 3 weeks or something like that. Like we take care of you. We look, we know exactly what's going on and stuff. And so after that, I felt comfortable, and I think I was on Tysabri for about 4 years, which if you have the JC virus, the recommended is only 2.
Okay.
But I was like low enough and, monitored enough that they let me stay on that. And then once they came out with Ocrevus, then they switched me to that. And I didn't see any difference in these drugs so much. So I think it's working.
Yeah. So it since you've been on Ocrevus, you haven't had any kind of relapses. It's kind of keeping you even level.
Yeah. I mean, there is the what's it called? It's progressive. So, I mean, there's progression. My walking is slower.
Yeah.
And, I can't do everything I used to be able to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it just comes with MS, I suppose.
Yeah. So you said that you were a waitress and you were having problems and so I'm assuming that MS, like it affected you. You couldn't continue to work. Well,
I still did.
Okay.
I was still waitressing, and after that, before I got pregnant, I was with a media company, and that was just working on computers, looking at ads and stuff. And that was a pretty good job. And so I was doing that, and I could safely do that and stuff. And they knew about my MS. They were very well aware of it. And that was fine with them. And they were very accommodating.
That's good. I mean, it's because I hear so many horror stories about people that, they have MS and their employers aren't very cooperating, and people lose their job, and it's sad to hear that. And, because everybody just wants to work and wants to belong. And sometimes it's just very frustrating for people with a chronic disease.
It is. And actually, they were very accommodating. They were very good. They actually let me move back. I kept my job and I moved back to Buffalo, and they let me keep it. And I worked, because it was just computer work. So I could do that. But after I had my son and I had the really bad relapse, they said, well, you already took maternity leave. You're out of FMLA, so we got to let you go. So that was upsetting. But at the same time, for me, I had just had my new baby and I could spend time with him, and take him to all of his therapies because now he has CP and I got to, take care of him.
Yeah.
So I had the time to do that.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm not able to work, but at least I can be home with my child. I mean, it's so,
right.
It's like, one thing's bad, but you make something good out of it. So let me ask you this, Jackie. I know with me when I got diagnosed, I was like I kind of fought the mental health part of it, and you know I didn't want anybody to think I was depressed and you know and like struggling with my disease. So and it took me 15 years to actually get help. How did this diagnosis of multiple sclerosis affect your mental health? And can you like kind of like talk about that a little bit?
I mean, honestly, because as I said, like I was relieved. I was very happy with the diagnosis. I didn't so much have any of the mental health stuff.
That's great.
It wasn't until later on. I mean, now that I've had it for almost 20 years, you know, it's like, well, yeah, now it's weighing on me, and it's like, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could get back to work. I wish I could, you know,
Yeah.
kind of stuff like that. But
Yeah.
for the most part,
Yeah.
you know, I don't mind talking about my diagnosis at all. And, you know, I see people on the street like, oh, what's wrong with your leg? Are you okay? And, oh, did you get a hip replacement? I just had a hip replacement. No, it's my MS. And if they want to listen, if they want to hear about it, I will tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. You know, I get a lot of people that'll come up to me and be like, oh, you got a bad knee. I'm like, and I just kind of smile and say, I wish it was only a bad knee, but no, I got multiple sclerosis. And, you know, but I mean, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I was kind of embarrassed of it when I first got diagnosed, but I learned like, you know what, it's part of me, and I'm good with it now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, me too. You know, it's like, well, I know I walk kind of funny, but
Yeah.
oh well, you know,
Yeah.
if somebody has an issue with it, if they're going to say something about it, I'll just tell them the truth. You know, no, you know, it's MS.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I've another problem that I had, or not a problem, but a difficulty that I've had with my 27 years have been relationships. So I was engaged to be married when I first got diagnosed. I ended up getting married, and I was married for 15 years, but that marriage ended up in a divorce. Now, I'm not going to say that MS had a lot to do with it, but I'm sure that it had a little bit to do with it. But how have relationships been with you since you've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis?
Well, my first husband, he, as I said, he didn't take it well, and you know, I really wanted to have a baby, and he knew that. I'm getting married, like we knew that. I said, like, I want to have kids, you know, and he, like, wouldn't, you know, he was like, no, not yet. And, like, he, you know, I feel like if he wouldn't have waited and if I would have had a baby, like, but again, that's what ifs, you don't know, you know, but, maybe things would turn out different, but I don't know, but I think, you know, and after I had my baby, and about a year later, we divorced. So that was rough. And
so you're okay. So you're divorced, and I went through the divorce too. So did you get back out on the dating, and like how did that work out for you? Because I know I struggled with like going out on dates after I first got divorced.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I didn't really have many dates. Then I met my second husband. I think the problem with me is that I just jumped into relationships too fast and too, you know, and then I had another husband and another baby, and that only lasted about a year. And now it's just me and the kids.
Just you and the kids. Do you have any other kind of family support?
I have my parents. They live about 15 minutes away, and they're supportive. You know, they help if I need it, if I ask and stuff. But I don't like to do that either. You know, it's like I was always very independent, and, you know, I guess having this diagnosis and these, you know, difficulties in life, and, you know, it's like, and now I have to ask. I can't do everything. I would love to, but I can't do it anymore, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of things that I love to do, and, you know, it sucks to have to give stuff up. But, you know, we always kind of try to adapt and still do whatever we can. You know, I mean, I used to like to golf, and obviously I can't golf anymore. But, you know, I play a video game on my phone. It's a golf game. You know, it still satisfies my enjoyment of the game, even though I can't physically go out there and play it.
Right.
So what? Are you still on? You're still on Ocrevus, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any kind of you have like good friendships, like to help you out if there's something that you can't do at home?
I really don't.
Wow, you're just like an independent person. That is like so amazing, and you're just such a positive person too. Jackie, I don't know how you find the strength doing this 20 years. I don't know if I could have done the 27 years without any help at all. And that's just I admire you for that strength that you have.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I lost some of my friendships with my second marriage and whatever. And it's kind of hard to get those friendships back. There was people at the park and stuff. I would meet with my son, and, you know, like friendships, but not really like, hey, come over friendships, stuff like that. Just kind of alone right now, but that's okay, you know.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
There's nothing wrong with that. You got your kids with you, and now, do your kids understand the multiple sclerosis diagnosis?
My youngest one does not. He does not care. But my oldest, he does, because he had, like, as I said, he has cerebral palsy, and me with the MS, he grew up like understanding, like, hey, mommy can't walk right now, and you know, stuff like that. And we kind of walk similar because his cerebral palsy only really affects his legs. Okay. So, and the MS mainly affects my legs as well. So we were kind of like on the same wavelength with that stuff. But even now, I mean, I'll be like, oh, I'm having a bad day, or oh, I can't play, you know, because I mean, he loves sports. He loves sports, and he's always jumping around and stuff, even though he has cerebral palsy and he doesn't, you know, and he's always on his tippy toes and stuff like that. But, you know, that's just what he loves. And that's what, I mean, he says, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? Something in sports. Okay. You know, like, we'll figure that out down the line. I mean, he's only 11, so he's got time.
Hey, you know what? He can get into sports in other ways other than playing them. He can be an announcer.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
I mean, he can.
That's what I keep telling them is, no, I'm going to play. Okay. But really, like, you could be an announcer. You could do stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. You got to have dreams. I love that. I love that your support is your son, and your son has a chronic illness too, that you guys can relate with each other because of that. That is so awesome, Jackie. That you have. I mean, it's not awesome that your son has CP.
I understand. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, but it's just awesome that you guys have that connection. That you both understand each other. That is so awesome. Actually,
I have a funny story for you. So maybe a month ago, I said something about, like, my disease, or he's like, you have a disease? I'm like, yeah, it's like multiple sclerosis, you know, like you have CP, you know, that's a disease, but mommy has a disease as well. You know, oh, I didn't know it was a disease.
Yeah. Wow, that's so awesome. That's just a cute story. I love hearing stories like that. What would you say if you had something to say to anybody that is out there fighting for answers, and they're scared? Because I know I was scared when I first got diagnosed. What would your message be to those people that are trying to get answers, Jackie?
Try to advocate for yourself, because as I found out, nobody was looking for MS at all when I first started having my symptoms and stuff. If I would have pushed a little harder,
Yeah.
Yes, I was very young. I was still only 16, 17,
Yeah.
When I had symptoms, but advocate for yourself and,
Yeah, you know your body better.
Stay strong for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you know your body better than anybody. I know, when I first started having my symptoms, my eyes were my first part that kind of went wacky on me, and I was tripping. I had the drop foot, and I knew my body, something was wrong, and that's when I started going to doctors, and they started testing me. And I kept on going, no, hey, you guys got to figure this out, and you got to advocate for yourself. If you don't like what a doctor's telling you, find another doctor until you get the answers that you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. Is there anything else that you want to say to anybody that's listening out there, Jackie?
Stay strong.
Yeah.
You can do it,
Yeah. MS is you can manage it. And I think the hardest part about this disease is the mental part, just kind of like accepting that you can't do things as well maybe as you could a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and just kind of accepting.
So you can find another way and just
keep on
figure out the way you do it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I love your attitude, Jackie. I am so
Thank you.
I am so glad that we became friends. We met on social media. I love talking to people that have chronic diseases and just hearing how they manage them and how they handle them. I think there's so much good information talking to people and just kind of having discussions like this. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is MS Michigan Man. I'm going to start wrapping it up. I hope that you can follow and subscribe to the podcast, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I want to thank Jackie for joining me today, and this is MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.